Oh, I think we see. They went with a Stranger Things angle.
Yeah.
And a Confederate flag on the back of that truck. There you go.
Yeah. Don't tread on me, sticker.
Don't tread on me, sticker.
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream?
Are you serious? Well, the lady, the little girl in the hijab should be thankful she woke up in the United States. If she'd be waking up in a Muslim country, it would be, sweetie, time for your sex slavery. Not again.
Not again.
Oh, boy. Yesterday, 8 people were killed by a terrorist running over pedestrians in New York City with a truck. So the question of the day here, anyone can point out hypocrisy with the media or inconsistencies. We want to go a little bit deeper than that, but I think you'll notice how they handle different scenarios comparing this with Vegas.
Absolutely.
What do you think is a more rational fear? That of guns themselves, that of the inanimate object that is a gun, or that of Islam itself? Distilling it, a gun or the ideas of Islam? Let us know below. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, you need to start hitting the bell for notifications, bookmarking this page, or join Mug Club, because YouTube has decided you're no longer going to be notified of our videos.
You're not good enough for YouTube.
Right. Yes. So
because I think we know the answer to this question.
By the way, it's been going everywhere. Obviously, this happened, the terrorist attack, and you're not allowed in St. Mark's Square to yell out Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, well, nothing really cool has ever preceded the phrase Allahu Akbar.
No.
Yeah.
No.
At the very least, it's benign. It's like, okay, boring prayer, or someone's dying.
Yeah.
So some people are saying we need to ban Allahu Akbar, and then of course left is saying, oh, don't ban this. Is the one time they step up to defend free speech.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden.
And but I'm going to be consistent. You shouldn't ban, obviously, Allahu Akbar. I say find middle ground. Just start decriminalizing beards.
Oh,
same net effect.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yes, irony alert, I get it. So the only late night host who addressed the terror attack that night was Stephen Colbert. Here you go.
It appears a terrorist has attacked innocent citizens in Lower Manhattan. And all of our hearts, all of our broken hearts, go out to everyone affected and to all those who live and work in this great city. Tomorrow and the next day, New Yorkers will wake up to new details about what happened, but tomorrow and the next day, New Yorkers will also wake up and keep going. Because in an uncertain world, one thing is for sure. New Yorkers will never live in fear.
Never live in fear. Compare that to the reactions and the fear-mongering after the last mass shooting. Let's see.
Maybe I'm nuts, but I would like to think we can put politics aside and agree that no American citizen needs an M16. Or 10 of them.
Are there no steps we can take as a nation to prevent gun violence? Or is this just how it is and how it's going to continue to be?
Congress is going to vote on deregulating gun silences. Gun violence is out of control. How can we make it quieter?
You want to make America great again? Pass any kind of common sense gun control legislation that the vast majority of Americans want.
Actually, that's not true. So we just say common sense gun control. You need to get into exactly what that is. So before we get to the comparison of Islam and guns and what's a more rational fear, skepticism, let's first go to their claims in late night about gun control, the stuff that they push immediately after the Vegas shooting. Washington Post actually fact-checked Marco Rubio's claim not that long ago. They said none of the major shootings that have occurred in this country over the last few months or years that have outraged us would gun laws have prevented them. They would not have prevented them. Even the leftist Washington Post said, yeah, that's true. They would not have prevented
It's
any
really
of these
hard
shootings.
point for any leftist to really argue it, honestly.
It would not stop any of the shootings. Now, on the other hand, of course, there are instances where armed citizens might have changed the odds. Now, it's never a guarantee that if someone has a gun, they're going to stop some kind of a mass shooting. But we do know that a lot of these attacks have occurred where maybe it could have been an equalizer if people were allowed to carry, and no one did. Good example would be Fort Hood, no guns allowed. New York City, carry laws are impossible. You contrast that with a place like Tennessee, where a guy with a gun stopped a mass shooting at a church last month.
Yeah, you'll never hear about that in the news.
No, well, in Vegas, people say, well, Vegas has a gun state. Well, not at a mass gathering, not at a concert. It's not allowed.
No, not at all.
It's actually one of the few things that Islamic terrorists and non-Islamic shooters share in common. They statistically seek scenarios where people would not have guns readily available to defend themselves. But the same thing shows that terrorists don't rely on guns. In the United States, the OSU student drove into a crowd and started stabbing people. In Europe, you have terrorists running a truck through a Christmas market in Berlin, 12 dead, 49 injured. Terrorists plowed into people in the London Bridge, killing 6, dozens more injured. Terrorists slammed a van into Barcelona, that was 14, I think, killing more than 100. Of course, you have Bastille last year, which was 86 people died, 458 injured.
Insane.
It didn't require guns.
No, it never does.
It almost seems they prefer vehicles and knives at this point.
Well, you can do far more damage very quickly with a car aimed in the wrong direction. It's insane when you think about it. We just allow
you can do it anywhere.
A girl who's we talk about guns, right? We want to stop somebody from having a clip, as they call it, that's more than 9 rounds. But you give a girl who's on Snapchat a Ford Explorer?
So true.
Well, and if the left's argument was just consistent, you would have heard Islam and not terrorists. It would have been radical Islamic terrorism at the very least, right? Because they're quick to say guns, 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 guns every time something bad happens. But this is just it's a terrorist attack.
That's what's so important, because you're talking about an inanimate object versus, listen, there are only so many ways to say it, okay? I was sitting down going, okay, we have another terrorist attack. We have to deal with this in the story. All right, how do we frame it this time? Listen, let's be really clear here, okay? You have a religion, Islam, that advocates for the punishment of homosexuals, death, apostasy, that women should be treated as second-class citizens, and of course, so should non-Muslims. And then you look at Muslims across the entire world, homosexuality, apostasy, punishable by death often, or severe measures.
Yeah.
And women and non-Muslims are second-class citizens. All the time. That case in point. That's it. And people, what about the Muslims in the United States? I don't care about the Muslims in the United States. Okay, I'm talking about the entire Muslim Islam practicing world is a crapple. I don't care about the small percentage of it. It's like saying, well, listen, what about the Swedes in the United States when I talk about their socialized healthcare? I don't care about the Swedes. How about the Swedes in Sweden?
Yeah. Just like you would talk about the few Americans who live in Nigeria.
No.
The few white people. Like, that's not representative of white Americans as a whole.
Yeah, well, what about the Americans over there in Zimbabwe? So what? That's not reflective of the American healthcare system.
It's an exception, not the rule.
Book says do this. Prophet says do this. Every Muslim country does this. It says engage in terrorism. Islamic followers engage in terrorism. And the media says, but there's no correlation. But the left wants you to know there's nothing to fear in Islam. For the real threat, see Virginia's Latino Victory Fund's recent political ad. Let's watch this. Where is it? What's the threat?
Uh-oh.
Oh, Republican! Bumper sticker.
Run, run, run!
They hit all the races there with the kids, too. That's good.
Oh, I think we see. They went with a Stranger Things angle.
Yeah.
And a Confederate flag on the back of that truck. There you go.
Yeah. Don't tread on me, sticker.
Don't tread on me, sticker.
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream?
Are you serious?
Son paid for it and is responsible for the
Well, the lady, the little girl in the hijab should be thankful she woke up in the United States. If she'd be waking up in a Muslim country, would be, sweetie, time for your sex slavery. Not again.
Not again.
Oh, boy.
We just did that yesterday.
I hate that you're right.
So, in using this, what is a more rational fear? Okay, well, let's go back to guns. Guns are used in self-defense, by the way, but far more often than they're used in the United States to kill. From 100,000 to 3 million cases each year, according to the Census Bureau. Contrast, Islamic terrorism is the #1 cause of terrorist attacks in the United States in the past decades, and, of course, globally. Since 2001, over 3,100 have been killed by Islamists. Contrast that with, like you see in that ad, the evil Confederate flag wavers, 106. The left's favorite boogeyman. And by the way, that's sleight of hand they do often, where they'll say, well, there have only been X amount killed since, and they start counting September 12th.
September 12th.
Exactly.
September 12th. Like, what's behind that curtain?
Don't get me wrong, it's still bad if you
Don't worry about that.
count anything before that. It's still really bad, but it's some may say significantly worse.
And globally, Islam accounts for an overwhelming amount of terror. 4 terrorist groups, Islamic groups alone, 74% of all deaths from terrorism. Okay?
Of course it's guns. I mean, I can see from the evidence that it's guns we have to deal with and not Islam
It
at all.
is just crazy to me where the left takes something, okay, shooting, and right away they go to an inanimate object to try and push ideas. They blame the gun to try and push legislation that they themselves acknowledge would not change anything. So, inanimate object, let's use that as the boogeyman to push some ideas that we do not know would ever make a difference. On the flip side, when someone literally, Allahu Akbar, what is that? They are yelling out their ideas. They're saying, these are all of my values and everything I hold dear. Well, where do we find them? In the Quran and Hadith. I want you to read Muhammad's quote. Hey, officers, this is a motive. I'm Muslim. I'm killing in the name of Islam. It stems from ideas. They couldn't possibly be more clear. And the left says, well, this isn't about ideas. It's just about some incident. Inanimate object, let's blame that. Push ideas. Someone announces their ideas. Nothing to see here. Finally, if you're not convinced, or if you don't know where I line up, if nothing else, a firearm has never actually said any of these things. Hey, did you enjoy this video? Here's the thing, you're here, this is the end of it, so we don't care because you already watched it. But if you really didn't like it and you want to justify it, leave a comment below telling us why you didn't like the video. And if you liked us, let us know. And subscribe to the channel, because that lets the overlords at YouTube know that, you know what? You're all right.